Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a very special. It's not a mashup. It's something else. It's the Carsillo Awards. I don't know, the Golden Buses.
All hail Ray Carsillo, the greatest gamer in history, who will share his top 10 games of the year of our gaming lords 2023.
Yes. As always, I am Ray Carsillo, and that is Lee Elias, my best friend over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
That's
We,
the
of course,
intro
are the
the
Geeks.
people deserve, Ray.
We are the Geeks Who Like Sports, and yeah, we decided no mashup this week. If you listen to this week's episode, first off, we greatly appreciate it. But of course, at the end of the episode, we teased my top game.
I said to you, this deserves to take over the mashup this week because of the authority that you possess in the gaming world. I wanted this to be there, and it is a mashup, Ray. It is a mashup of you and games today.
Yes.
The greatest mashup of all.
I am the game miser. Yes, I am the I am the expert.
I made him blush. I love you, Ray. You're the game guy.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I do. Look, I'm not tooting my own horn here, but I don't know anybody in the gaming industry who plays more games than I do. It's just a fact. It's the truth.
I'll toot your horn on that.
Yeah. And I beat 66 games this year. At this point, I'll probably finish about 70 once we actually hit like New Year's, and we could do like calendar year to calendar year. But we are doing this now, and I think I can authoritatively say what the best games of 2023 were. So
I think you can too. And let's get into those top 10 best games of 2023 with your host, Raymond Carsillo, Gaming Lord.
Yes. First off, I'm actually going to do something that I don't normally do, but this was right up until the end. This was in the top 10. And so I want to mention it just because it's technically number 11 on the list. But I want to give credit to Dead Island 2, a game that was dead, that came back, died again, came back in very fitting zombie fashion for a zombie game. This game's been in development hell for like 9 years. And you know what? It deserves to have at least an honorable mention that even though it's not technically in the top 10, it's number 11. Credit where it's due. These guys got a really good game out this year in the beginning of the year, right around I think it was around April. And credit where it is due. If you like bashing zombies, it's not top 10 worthy, but it's probably worth a purchase, especially now the DLC's coming out. Dead Island 2.
Dead Island 2 is your first loser.
Yes, number 11. It's off the top 10 list, but it deserves a special shout out. All right, number 10. I already know I'm gonna piss a lot of people off with this list, but I don't really care because I don't think you know what you're talking about the way I do. So,
I love it.
Yeah. Number 10 is Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom.
Ooh, you are gonna piss some people off with this, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's only number 10 because here's the thing. I appreciate what Nintendo has done with the last 2 Zelda games, where they have given you amazing freedom and tools and the ability to truly craft your own adventure in a lot of ways, right? It's very much Minecrafty, Robloxy, Fortnite. It's very much the now of what is in with gaming. But with that, I feel that there is not enough for what I like in the game in terms of the story, in terms of the characters. There's not enough there for me to enjoy. I prefer playing through. I actually would have loved the tools, but still have had 7 to 11 massive dungeons than 100 mini dungeons, right? I would have preferred to have had some more time with a lot of the characters. I felt that I was running so much from shrine to shrine to shrine that I didn't really enjoy my time and to get into the actual meat of the story, because I don't know if there was really a story there. Yes, there was a story. There was a beginning, middle, and end, right? There are story beats, and you can do it in any order you want. But I don't know. I just feel that the 4 massive dungeons with all these shrines around it, it just doesn't feel like Zelda to me. And I wonder if in a way that the fact that it's called a Zelda game actually holds this back for me, because what I think of as a Zelda game is not this. In fact, it's not even in my top 5 all-time Zelda games, right? So the fact that it's even in my top 10 this year says, look, it's a very good game. I just don't think it's the best Zelda game.
Tune in for that top 5 Zelda games list, which will be coming in the near future. But Ray, I will say this too. I think that what's Nintendo's running into with Zelda is that there's this open world aspect now to gaming that they're trying to match, and they're trying to
Yes.
bring that into Zelda.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And
But that can take it down the list, right? Because the game was, I'll say it, the game's bloated.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that, and that's the thing. I think you can easily lose focus in Zelda, and for some that's a good thing. For me, it's not.
Well, for the game makers, that's a great thing, right? Because
Yes,
you just end up playing in the sandbox longer, right?
sure.
I guess it comes down to how you want to experience games. Do you want to live in that virtual world, or do you want a great game,
Yeah,
right? And I think the criteria for a great game is there's a story that's worthwhile.
sure.
I
And I
think that's
think
a
that
fair thing.
there were enough things in Tears of the Kingdom. By the way, this whole list, spoiler alerts for everything on this list, because I will talk about specific beats upon everything. So everything going forward could be a spoiler alert, right? There were points like when I find the Great Deku Tree finally in Tears of the Kingdom that really that was the, you know. And look, nostalgia can go a long way too. It's not everything, but it is nice when used well. And that was a good piece of nostalgia in this game, which I think that any longtime Zelda fan can enjoy, right? But I don't think there was enough of that. And again, I think, like, to your point, there's just so much else out there. Look, I put 80 hours into this game and I beat it, and I felt like meh. Right? When my best Zelda game experiences, right? Link to the Past, Ocarina, I feel like fulfilled. I feel like I've accomplished something, and I feel like, my God, I want to experience this again.
Right.
There is nothing inside Tears of the Kingdom I want to experience again.
Well, I think that says everything right there. It
So
still
yeah,
made the top 10 though.
it's a good game. I'm not taking that away from them. It's just not, to me.
You're justifying why it's not number 2. That's basically what's happening. That's fine. You can do that.
Yeah. Number 9, this came out of nowhere for me. This was a huge surprise. But again, this is where, because I'm not usually a big fan of this particular genre, but this again also shows that if you have a great story, I think that you can to excel. And I said this a few years ago with Hades. Even though it wasn't my game of the year, I think I finished it that was like top 6, top 7 for me, and this is going to finish number 9. It's a Souls-like. And again, I'm not usually into the Souls-like genre, but Lies of P, the steampunk, dark, gritty take on Pinocchio, right? And the idea that they've now teased that they're doing these public domain, they're going to turn this into a public domain fairy tale universe is phenomenal. Again, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, that they've already said the sequel is going to be The Wizard of Oz.
That's awesome.
I am super excited to see where this goes. And I love the characters. I love the take on Pinocchio, Geppetto, the Blue Fairy, Jiminy Cricket. I think they did a really wonderful job. And by the way, it's not the Disney version of these characters. It's like the original version of these characters. So they weren't afraid to go darker and to really give their own spin on it. The combat was solid, not spectacular. And I think that's the problem with a lot of Souls-like games for me, is that sometimes the combat isn't always there. And the combat here was good, not great. And of course, in typical Souls-like fashion, there is a punishment factor to it that you do get to a point where you can get past that. It's after the early game where you do get powerful enough to be like, okay, I know how to take on these enemies. It's a little bit of a grind, a little bit of hit, run away, hit, run away, which can get repetitive if you don't have the time to really sink into it. But this was a 30-hour experience. There's 3 endings. It actually encourages you to play the game 3 times. There's a bad ending, a neutral ending, and a good ending. And yeah, I just think the world they've built here with, again, not spoiling too much, with the different characters and just the vibe and the steampunk aesthetic. The combat again was solid, but the story just really spoke to me. This is probably my favorite take on Pinocchio ever. Like, honestly.
Wow, that's high praise.
Yeah, like I like, honestly, if you have the time and you like the grind, Lies of P. It's on Game Pass, by the way. So you can play it. If you have Game Pass, you can play that for free, which is how I did it. And really, really enjoyed it. Really, really enjoyed it. So
Lies of P.
Then you go. Number 8.
8.
I Oxenfree 2 Lost Signals. The original Oxenfree was an indie darling. It's an adventure game, very story driven again. And the only reason why it's not higher on the list is it doesn't do anything particularly special for the adventure genre, right? For the storytelling genre. But if you like the first one, it does a great job of building on that, really exploring the characters more, introducing new protagonists, and expanding what you can do. Actually, there's another game on the list we'll get to later. There's a couple of really indie darling games that did very well in their first outing. And then we're like, we got some money now. We had some success with the first one. We're now going to take that money, reinvest, go bigger and better with the second one, and really deliver what we think was what on our original vision, and really, really drive this home. I thought Oxenfree 1 was a surprise hit a few years ago. Oxenfree 2, because I think it had a timed exclusivity on PlayStation, I think slipped by some people's radar, also because of when it was released. But if you get a chance, check out if you liked Oxenfree 1, Oxenfree 2 is a must-play. I think it's even better. The story makes a lot more sense here. I think they tie a lot of the loose strings together in a nice way. Again, multiple endings, and just a creepy, by the way, a creepy vibe that isn't necessarily scary, but it really sticks to the theme and the aesthetic well, and it's a really good story and just a very solid kind of point-and-click adventure game. So, Oxenfree 2, Lost Signals.
At number 8.
At number 8. Now, what's interesting is now we get to the top 7, and things kind of got a little fluid here. Right up into the last minute, I kind of almost didn't know where I was going to go with some of these. Like, some of them were very much moving around right up until I made my list finally last night and really made it concrete.
Dude, you take these lists seriously, man. Like, I hope everybody listening understands. Like, he just throws this together. Like, Ray puts time into this.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, I again, I did this for years for Electronic Gaming Monthly. Obviously, had a vote once upon a time for the Game Awards and whatnot. And I very much consider Game of the Year to be a very, very serious thing. And I do take it seriously. So thank you. So number 7, actually very much in the same way as Oxenfree 2, Blasphemous 2. This is a Metroidvania. It's on all systems. But again, it was an indie darling. It was kickstarted. The first one did well enough that they were to make a sequel that was bigger and better and to continue the story. And I think they did that and did it again in every way possible. The story is better. The gameplay is tighter. You got new powers. The world is bigger. It's a Metroidvania, so if you love exploration, if you love backtracking, if you love building up your character, there's a really interesting, almost kind of like Spanish Inquisition vibe to it. You know, you play the Penitent one, you have a crown of thorns on your head, and you're basically kind of in a way taking on the god of this world, and it's got some really interesting religious undertones, but like in terms of its iconography, right? Like, it's not telling you anything about religion. It's just using a lot of that classic Renaissance iconography, which I really appreciate and really think is very beautiful. And it plays very well here. A lot of the character designs take their design from that. It's just really interesting. And again, almost in a twisted way, like cherubs with, like cherubs that are actually like kind of like stabbing a lady and whatnot. It's really interesting what they do here. And it's like a 16-bit kind of adventure, right? So it's got that retro vibe as well. But yeah, Blasphemous 2, number 7, absolutely phenomenal. Couldn't get enough of it. Absolutely enjoyed it. Had trouble putting it down. Number 6. Now that I kind of start getting to the ones that people probably aren't too surprised by, Super Mario Wonder. Super Mario Wonder at number 6. So two Nintendo games in the top 10. No surprise. Zelda and Mario, heavy hitters. I put Mario ahead of Zelda because it was just, to me, a lot more fun. It was very, very focused. It felt like a classic Mario game, but found new ways, obviously new powers. It really encouraged exploration. There was a family-friendly vibe, very easy to pick up. Didn't punish you like as much. It was punishing in some levels, but it didn't punish you so much so that like I finished the game. I think I had 70 lives in the bank or something like that, right? Like, and I think for a younger audience in particular, if this is their first Mario game, this is going to give them the same kind of vibes that we got, Lee, with Mario 3, Super Mario World. And I think they did a really great job with that. And I think it was just a whole ton of fun. The worlds are all very, very classic Mario, but also have a very distinct vibe to them. As you explore the Flower Kingdom, obviously there's a musical element to it. The Piranha Plant song went viral. There's also a Boo song for the haunted houses.
Sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah, which
yeah,
gaming is supposed to be.
yes, absolutely. So Mario Wonder. Number 5, another Game Pass game.
We're getting in the top 5 here now. Here we go.
Yes, yes. These are to me. I mean, all of these you should play, but these are must play. These are the first things to play on your list if you have a backlog. Number 5, another great indie game, great indie debut, Cocoon. It is by a lot of the same folks who made the game Inside and Limbo several years ago. So again, indie darlings. It's a puzzle game. It's very simple in terms of the mechanics. Simple on the surface, but very deep the more you get into it. I 100%ed it. Actually, I think I 100%ed like 4 of these 5 games in the top 5, which shows how much I really enjoyed them.
Yeah.
Cocoon, you can probably beat it in under 10 hours, but the puzzles and the aesthetic, and again, Game Pass game, I think you have to try it. If you like Inside or Limbo, Cocoon is a must play, honestly. Because there's similarities in terms of the simplicity of the mechanics, but a lot of depth underneath it. You only press the one button. You only have a joystick and the A button the whole game. But with that,
yeah,
they do so much with it in terms of building on powers. Like basically you carry these different orbs around with you throughout the game, and each orb gives you different powers. You can teleport with the orbs, you can shoot energy with the orbs, you can change the environment with the orbs, and basically it just the way they were able to layer the puzzles, just brilliantly done. Just really brilliantly.
There's a brilliance to 2 buttons or 1 button, a D-pad, and a full game. There's an art to that.
Yeah, and they knock it out of the park. Number 4, probably not surprising too much, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Again, game I 100%ed. Love the story of Cal Kestis continuing. Again, building on the first one. New enemy types, new friends, new worlds to explore. Also a bit of a Metroidvania. You know, once you get certain powers, you go back. You can open up different realms and whatnot. The bounty hunting aspect to it, I think, was a lot of fun. A lot of great side missions.
Yeah.
But again, boss battles. I mean, you fight Vader at one point in this. It just, again, spoiler. Right.
Too late.
I was going to say, the game came out 8 months ago. So
it did. No, you're right. There's a lot. And the story itself was great in this game, too. Really good storyline.
And the acting is terrific. It just, if you love, I don't even think you need to love Star Wars just to appreciate how great this game is. But if you love Star Wars, I think this is easily in your top 5, everybody's top 5.
Well, I really enjoyed it. I percented the game. So no, I really enjoyed it too. And it's like, it was a world I looked forward to going back to.
Yeah.
And the Star Wars story works, right? Not to mention there's some severe drama in this game that it could be unexpected at times in a good way. It gives you a purpose behind Cal Kestis to want to defeat the game.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think
especially the ending. The twist, a nice twist at the ending.
Yeah, they really developed the characters in a phenomenal way, and it really makes you feel for everybody, and it's just beautiful. And it does a great job of finding its own niche in Star Wars lore.
Yeah,
which is not always
opening
easy.
It up for more games too, or beyond.
Yes, you can have old Cal Kestis meet the Mandalorian at some point. Who knows, right? Like, we'll see what happens. But yeah, they did a great job over there at Respawn, and credit where it's due. Can't wait.
At one point, that was your top game of the year. I did not expect it to finish there, but I'm saying like that tells you something.
Yeah. Well, you know what it is. I mean, it was easily the game of the first half, right? The game of the first half.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was a very stacked September, October, November this year.
Yeah, as it always is. Yeah.
So Star Wars slips to 4 in the latter half of the year. Number 3, I just finished this. I finished the set. There's 2 endings. I just finished this week. Another Game Pass game, by the way, folks. Sea of Stars. It's by the guys who, it's called Sabotage Studio, by the guys who made The Messenger. It takes place like 500 years before The Messenger, but whereas that was a Metroidvania with a retro feel, this is an RPG, old school turn-based RPG, very much like Chrono Trigger in a lot of ways. If you like Chrono Trigger,
that was a
I
great
think
game.
yeah, this is right up your alley, and this was right up mine. It finds a way to do unique elements to the mechanics, a lot of timing with the attacks. It does, again, the writing is terrific. It breaks the wall, the fourth wall, just a couple of times to give you, a wink and a nod that you just kind of, you can't help but laugh at. But the character development, the party, every character you feel for, the world feels so alive. And then when you get it, there's a heart-wrenching twist about halfway through, and then there's a heart-wrenching celebration, I guess, at the end. Like it does a really great job of really lifting you up. It makes you want to go back and play it more and more and more. It took me 35 hours to get both endings. I got 95%. There's still like one thing I'm missing out there. I don't know where it is, but but yeah, I got 41 of the 42 achievements. But yeah, it absolutely phenomenal. And credit to Sabotage Studio. This is 2 games in a row that they have absolutely knocked it out of the park. Messenger was in my top 10 for when it came out that year. Sea of Stars finishes in my top 5. It was Indie Game of the Year at the Game Awards, and I agree with it. If you look at my list, it was in my Indie Game of the Year. But it deserved more love than it got the Game Awards, whereas it wasn't even in their top 6 for consideration there. It's my top 3. It's number 3 for me. And so much credit where it's due. Absolutely phenomenal experience. And there was that one point, like when I was sitting back last night, let me go with the top 3. I was going back and forth the whole time with these top 3 before I settled on this. Yeah.
It's a good thing.
It was very hard to finalize where everything settled.
Well, and now you're gonna have to explain why 2 and 1 are ahead of this.
Yeah.
But you will.
I will. Number 2, Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake 2. Again, absolutely just the way that they tell the story, multiple protagonists, it just twists and turns you don't see. It goes from being funny to scary. I mean, my heart, like I actually had chest pains from the couple of jump scares where I was like, oh, maybe I'm too old for this game. Maybe I should stop playing. So like, I mean, they just do such a good job of just lulling you into a sense of security and then just gut punching you. If you love what Remedy does in the Remedyverse, and I will say that that's one of the things where I think you really do need to have played Alan Wake 1 and even probably Control to really understand what's going, to really appreciate and understand what's going on in Alan Wake 2. But if you have, this is such a great job in continuing what we call the Remedyversing games, that it's just really hard not to fall in love with it. It's a great continuation of the story of these characters of Alan Wake. It really is a deep dive in storytelling and character development. I do think it's a little funny, if not distracting, that Sam Lake, the game writer, is always in his games. And I'll also say this: there were several people in the game, and this is just something that bothers me, where they were acted by one person. They're Finnish actors, right? Because Remedy takes place in Finland, but then they were voiced by somebody else here in America, and it's a little weird because it's like the voices aren't necessarily matching the animation.
Right.
So I was like, that was a little, I could appreciate it. I could laugh at it. I could chuckle at it, although it was distracting a lot of times while playing. So yeah. So I do need to, I will knock it a little bit for that. But I mean, Alan Wake 2, if you love Alan Wake 1, and especially if you love Control, I think you need, and you love the Remedyverse and what they're building over there, Alan Wake 2 is a must play this year. And yeah, and just play with the lights on. Like I had to. I admit it. I had to because I have a very active imagination at night, and there's a lot of shadows in my apartment. Okay, so leave me alone. So
all right. Before we do it, this is what we gotta do. This is leading up to the number 1 game of the year for the Carsillo Award. Number 11, Dead Island 2, because we had an 11 this year. Yes. Number 10, Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Number 9, Lies of P. Excuse me.
Yep.
Number 8, Oxenfree Lost Signals. Number 7, Blasphemous 2. Number 6, Super Mario Wonder. Number 5, Cocoon, which is on Game Pass. Number 4, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Number 3, Sea of Stars, which is on Game Pass. Number 2, Alan Wake 2. And that brings us to the number 1 game of 2023 with your Lord and host, Raymond Carsillo. That game is going to come to you any moment now. As long as you keep listening to this podcast, we will announce what the winner is in 3 minutes from now when I decide it's 3 seconds from now. Ray, your game of the year.
You know, it's funny. I forgot my goggles are over there, but I was going to wear them for this. But it should not come as too much of a surprise. Then the one game I have not mentioned thus far is Spider-Man 2.
There it is.
It is a game that, well, again, you know, you can, unlike Alan Wake 2, which I think if playing the previous games enhances it, I think that while playing the previous Spider-Man does enhance it, it is not nearly as necessary here in Spider-Man 2, which makes it more accessible. I think it does a great job of, again, crafting classic villains around their story and their idea of Spider-Man and making it original. The gameplay is absolutely top-notch. I mean, I can't get enough of it. Again, another game I 100%ed. You know, I couldn't put it down, right? I'll say this. Whereas Alan Wake 2, I had to put down every now and then because it would give me a heart attack. Spider-Man 2 did not give me that problem.
Right.
If I did not have a job, I would not have stopped. I would have played Spider-Man 2 for 30 hours straight until I 100%ed it, and I would not have stopped. I would not have slept. I would not have ate. I would have finished that game because I could not get enough of it. I could not. I wanted more. I wanted more. I wanted more. I loved how seamless the transition was between Peter and Miles. I loved how Miles, with the characterization of him, and I loved that they're basically getting him ready to be the Spider-Man in their universe, right? Peter taking on more of an elder statesman / mentor role, right? But I love what they did with the Lizard. I love what they did with Kraven. I love what they did with Venom. Like, I think they were just so smart with what they did with Venom in this. And, of course, doing anything with the symbiotes. And they tease Carnage, whether that's in the DLC or whether that's the next game, who knows? Like, but, again, it just playing in this universe, it is so rich. And if you have any appreciation for the characters from the comics like I do, it just tickles every spot, everything. It hits all the right spots for you.
Spider sense was tingling.
Exactly. I could not get enough of it, and it just, I mean, it is a PlayStation exclusive. I mean, gosh, folks, if you're, I don't want to say go buy a PS5 for this, but if there's a game that if there's a game that you want, like, what game do I buy when I buy a PS5? This is the game. More than God of War, more than anything else, you have to buy Spider-Man. Give me pictures of Spider-Man. Yeah, no, like, it is just it's just beautifully done. It's terrifically acted, right? I mean, I think Yuri Lowenthal should have gotten a Game Award for voice acting this year. I think that yeah, I think it's just absolutely phenomenal. I couldn't get enough of it, and I can't sing its praises enough. From gameplay, the world feels alive and vibrant, and there's a ton of stuff to do in it. Mysterio, I didn't mention Mysterio. I love what they did with Mysterio in this. Like, it's beautiful. If I had any complaint, is that they in order to advance this story, they killed off a couple of the villains from the previous story. Not all of them, but a couple of them. But I mean, like, it's in Insomniac's vision. It makes sense. You appreciate it. And it only makes you excited to see what they do with the next game, which will come out sometime after Wolverine.
I was going to say, they're going to open up that universe too. So that's another big part of it, right? Like, because Wolverine is the next big release.
And it takes place in that universe.
Right.
Yeah, Insomniac's Wolverine, and, like, yeah, who knows at that point, right?
Like, it makes you wonder if they're doing an Avengers type thing. Like, if they're going to try and bring multiple people together into a game. That would be an ambitious thing to try.
Yes, and do an Avengers that doesn't suck. That would be amazing. So,
well, there you have it. Game of the year, Spider-Man 2. I think, to no surprise. I think you made great points of why your top 3 were separated. But Ray, that's a fantastic list, and you're right. That's going to ruffle some feathers. There's a lot of people that won't. I would say Spider-Man 2 is going to be there for most people, but your 10 through 2 is definitely not, I think, what most people are thinking, but it's a true gamer's top 10. But we want to know what you
What
think.
you think?
Do you agree with Ray's top 10? Do you have other games that would be on your top 10? Do you shuffle his chart? Do you agree with his chart? Do you buy all the 11 games that Ray said because he is the Lord and Savior of the gaming industry? Ray, that's a great top 10 list. You did a great job with it.
Thank you.
I hope
Look, there's going to be people out there. There are going to be people out there who are going to wonder where Mortal Kombat was, where Forza was, where Baldur's Gate was, where Starfield was. Yeah. They were way farther down the list.
Yeah.
Way farther down the list.
Yeah. Like Mortal Kombat story is fun, but it's not breaking any barriers. Like,
no.
Like, and again, I agree with you with Spider-Man 2. You know how you know that's the game of the year? Because people are watching the cutscenes like on YouTube. Yeah. They're not even, they just want to see what happens. Right? Yeah. Like no one's doing that for Mortal Kombat, most likely outside the fatalities.
Right. Yeah. And look, and I'll say this, look, Starfield, and it's kind of similarly to Zelda, right? Starfield and Baldur's Gate have a great tool set inside their games, right? They have a lot of great tools to them that make it where you can do things that you probably don't do in a lot of other games. But particularly for Baldur's Gate, the story did not resonate with me whatsoever. I thought I just got very bored very quickly. I put 10 hours into it. And Starfield, which I did 100% also, by the way, I got all the achievements on my first playthrough. The game's there's too much broken with it.
Yeah, that's not necessarily a good thing that you got all of them on your first playthrough.
Yeah, no, that's the first Bethesda game I've ever been able to do that, where I didn't require a second playthrough to get all my achievements, and it just there's a lot broken with Starfield still. So as much good as it doesn't do as it does a lot bad too. And Forza is the worst grind. This is the worst. I'm going to say this. I want to say this. This is the worst Forza they put out probably since the first Forza.
Wow.
So,
right.
Anyway.
Early contender for Game of the Year 24.
Well, give me 1 second because I will pull this up because I'm already started my list. I've already started my most anticipated list. Give me a second.
I want Ray's early contender for Game of the Year 24. We will see if he's right. It's not that it's not about being right. It's does the game hold up to Ray's expectations, which are always correct when it comes to gaming. This is where I actually miss Gamer Review magazines, Ray, and your writing. But I'm glad we get to do it on our podcast.
Thank you.
We'll have to put your list up on TikTok and then lead them to this.
You know what? There's going to be if it does come out in 2024, Star Wars Outlaws, which is the next open world Star Wars game, is going to be high up there.
That could definitely win. Yeah.
Yeah. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin.
Oh, that could totally win.
Yes. The new South Park game looks phenomenal. South Park Snow Day.
Wow.
That's coming out.
So, well, tune in 1 year from now to find out what Ray's game of 2024 is. We will take the receipts right now. If you're not here, we will find you.
Yes.
I have a particular set of skills.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot. I will say this. My prediction for 2024. I think that it's going to be a lot easier to discern what game of the year is in 2024 because I think 2023 suffered from the fact that you not only did you have your usual schedule of big games, but a lot of games that got delayed in the pandemic finally came out.
It's true.
So not that 2024 will be a down year, but I think it will be a lot easier of a list to put together.
More of a return to normalcy.
That is what I'm expecting. Whereas like this, like I said, like I really had to rack my brain on this because there was so many good games. And really the differences between one through 10, they're more minor than they are in most other years.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is that you have to play all these games to kind of find those nuances. And again, I've beaten 66 games so far this year, and I'll probably finish at 70 something or whatever.
I believe it. And if you've been listening to this, if you're new to the show, if you saw Ray's post on TikTok about this and it got the fish hooks in you to come over and listen to his explanation, hopefully you enjoyed that. And we hope that you enjoyed it enough to subscribe to Geeks Who Like Sports full time, because there is a whole sports side to our podcast as well. I'll do a top 10 of some sort at some point during the year. I haven't figured that out quite yet. But make sure to subscribe. And if you are enjoying the show, please give us that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Wherever you listen, that really does a lot to support us. 5-star review with a quick comment really pushes us ahead to where we want to be. So thank you for that. And Ray, great job, man. I'll let you close it out. This was a fantastic list for 2023.
Thank you so much, Lee. So yeah, so for Lee, I'm Ray. This has been the Geeks Who Like Sports Carsillo Awards for 2023.
The Golden Carsillo goes to Spider-Man.
Spider-Man 2 gets the Golden Carsillo and Insomniac. Great on them. Keep up the great work, guys. And yeah, cannot wait to do this again next year. But remember, we're back in a couple of weeks after the holiday with our normal episodes and a new mashup here on Geeks Who Like Sports. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it.
Whenever you say that, accuse me to do that. I'll let you finish now.
Mashup.
Stop.
On that note, good night, everybody. Again, like Lee said, don't forget to sub, follow, like all that other stuff. We really appreciate it. We'll be back in the new year. Good night, everybody.
Mashup.